Very few people know what happened to Adam and Eve after the fall, and fewer still know how their incredibly influential lives ended. Adam, the first human created by God, lived an extraordinary life that spanned 930 years. This detail, mentioned in Genesis 5:5, shows the longevity of the early patriarchs in biblical times. Over his many years, Adam fathered 30 sons and 30 daughters. A detail noted in various apocryphal texts, such as the life of Adam and Eve. These children were the foundation of humanity, and through them, Adam's legacy would continue. To get to know how they died and how they were buried, let's rewind to their lives after Eden. But before we do, be sure to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video. Imagine Adam and Eve standing just outside the gates of Eden, feeling a mix of regret and determination. The fertile paradise of Eden was behind them, and before them lay a world they knew little about. They had to learn to cultivate the land, hunt for food, and build shelter. Genesis 3, verse 23, tells us that Adam was tasked with tilling the ground from which he was taken. During these early days, their relationship evolved from one of carefree companionship to partnership, forged in hardship. Eve's role became increasingly important in this new world. As the mother of all living, she not only supported Adam in his labor, but also began to bear children, a process both miraculous and painful. Despite the harsh conditions, Adam and Eve found joy in their growing family. Their firstborn, Cain, brought hope and promise, but also complexity. Abel, their second son, was a shepherd, and his relationship with Cain became a focal point of early human drama. The story of Cain and Abel in Genesis 4, verses 1 to 16, is an extensive look into sibling rivalry, jealousy, and the consequences of sin. Cain's jealousy over God's favor towards Abel's offerings led to the first act of violence, a brother killing his brother. This tragic event plunged Adam and Eve into deep grief, showcasing the ripple consequences of their initial disobedience in Eden. As he approached the end of his long life, Adam felt the weight of his years and knew his time was near. His body, once robust and full of vitality, now felt the relentless grip of age and illness. Realizing the importance of his final moments, Adam summoned his children to see them one last time. This gathering was not just a family reunion, but a significant event where Adam would impart his final words of wisdom and love. Adam's final days were occasioned by intense pain and sickness, pointing to the mortality that had befallen humanity due to his original sin. This suffering was not just physical, but also emotional, as Adam carried the burden of the fall from grace. His eldest son, Seth, who was particularly beloved by Adam for his righteousness and obedience, noticed his father's distress and asked him what was wrong. Adam, struggling with his pain, expressed an intense longing for the oil of mercy from the tree of life, hoping it might ease his suffering and give him some peace before he died. This request is detailed in the life of Adam and Eve, an apocryphal text that provides rich details about the lives of the first humans. The oil of mercy was believed to have healing properties, symbolizing God's grace and the life that Adam and Eve had lost when they were expelled from Eden. Adam's request was a touching moment of vulnerability and faith. It showed his great yearning for the divine mercy they once enjoyed in Eden and his hope for relief from his suffering. Seth, deeply moved by his father's plight, pledged to fulfill this request. Unable to fetch the oil himself, Adam entrusted this crucial mission to Eve and Seth. They were to journey to the Garden of Eden and ask God for the oil of mercy. The journey was not without danger and challenges, showing the risky path of seeking God's mercy and redemption. As they made their way, Seth was attacked by a wild beast who spoke daringly to him and threatened both he and Eve. Despite the ferocity of the creature, Seth manages to repel it, showing his bravery and determination to fulfill his father's dying wish. This encounter emphasized the obstacles and perils that come with seeking God's mercy, reflecting the struggles that humanity faces in its spiritual journey. The journey to the Garden of Eden was not just a physical trek, but a symbolic return to the place where humanity first disobeyed God. It showed the effort required to seek reconciliation and forgiveness from God. Eve and Seth's perseverance in the face of danger demonstrated their unwavering faith and commitment to their father's request. Upon reaching the gates of the Garden of Eden, Eve and Seth prayed fervently for the oil of mercy. Their prayers were heartfelt and sincere, filled with hope and desperation. The scene was one of deep spiritual atonement as they sought divine intervention to relieve Adam's suffering. Their prayers were answered by the appearance of the powerful and divine messenger of God, Archangel Michael. Michael informed them that the oil of mercy could not be given to them yet. He explained that the time for such divine intervention had not yet come. Instead, he delivered a prophecy stating that in the future, Adam and his descendants would receive new hearts and be restored to the garden. This prophecy was both a comfort and a challenge. It offered hope for future redemption and renewal, emphasizing the importance of patience and faith. Michael's message also carried the meaning that suggested the idea that immediate relief was not possible, but that, however, God planned to bring about future restoration and mercy for humanity. The encounter with Archangel Michael was an important moment, showing the intersection of divine justice and mercy. It reminded Eve and Seth of the larger plan and why they should remain faithful and hopeful despite immediate worldly suffering. Returning to Adam, Eve and Seth shared the angel's message. Although they could not bring the oil of mercy, they conveyed the prophecy of future redemption. Adam, understanding the significance of the message, gathered his family around him, with his wife and about 30 of his children, with the exclusion of Cain, who was a wanderer living in caves. In an incisive and emotional moment, he recounted the story of their original sin, the consequences they faced, and the promise of eventual restoration. Adam's speech was filled with wisdom and regret. He spoke of the days in Eden, the joy of living in God's presence, and the sorrow of their disobedience. He emphasized the importance of obedience to God and the dire consequences of sin. Adam wanted his children to learn from his mistakes and hold on to the hope of redemption. Eve also shared her perspective, talking about the story of the serpent's deception and their fall from grace. Her account was not without regret and sorrow, and also with a deep sense of hope for the future. Eve's story was a reminder of the consequences of disobedience and the importance of remaining vigilant against temptation. Eve's role during Adam's final days was that of a devoted and loving partner. She tended to him with care, her heart heavy with sorrow. The apocryphal texts describe her deep grief and constant prayers for Adam. She was a pillar of strength, embodying the role of a supportive spouse. Her devotion was evident in every act of care. From preparing meals to praying by his side, Eve's actions during this time showed the enduring love and partnership that defined their relationship. As Adam lay dying, his family surrounded him, praying and offering comfort. The scene was filled with emotion as they reflected on the life and legacy of their father. Adam's final moments were a time of deep spiritual reflection and connection with his loved ones. In Adam's final moments, a miraculous event occurred. A chariot of light drawn by angels appeared to take his soul. This divine chariot signified God's presence and the honor bestowed upon Adam as the first human. The angels bore Adam's body to the Garden of Eden, where they buried him at the place of his creation. This act of returning Adam to his place of origin symbolized the completion of his earthly journey and his reunion with the divine. The burial of Adam in the Garden of Eden was a very symbolic one. It represented not only the end of his life, but also the hope for humanity's eventual return to a state of grace and communion with God. Adam's death was not just a moment of sorrow, but also a moment of deep spiritual significance, filled with hope and promise for the future. After Adam's death, Eve continued to live. Deeply grieving the loss of her partner, she prayed earnestly to be buried alongside Adam, expressing her desire to remain united with him, even in death. Her prayers were answered, and on the 7th day after Adam's death, Eve passed away peacefully. She was buried next to Adam, symbolizing their eternal bond and the shared legacy they left behind. The sources so not mention her age at the time of death. Eve's death and burial next to Adam emphasize the enduring nature of their relationship and their joint role in humanity's story. Their resting place became a symbol of the unity and continuity of the human family. Eve's final moments were a testament to her faith and devotion both to God and her family. Her life was occasioned by a lasting faith and devotion. She took on the role of matriarch, guiding her children and grandchildren with wisdom and care. According to some Syriac Christian traditions, Adam and Eve were buried in the Cave of Treasures. This location is said to be near Mount Calvary, where Jesus was later crucified. The belief is that Adam's skull was buried at the base of the hill, and when Jesus was crucified, his blood flowed down and symbolically cleansed Adam's bones, offering redemption to the first man. This tradition ties the story of Adam and Eve directly to the Christian narrative of salvation. The story of Adam and Eve's final moments is rich with themes of faith, repentance, and hope. Their lives, filled with both profound joy and deep sorrow, offer timeless lessons about the human condition. As they faced death, they imparted wisdom to their descendants, emphasizing the importance of obedience to God and the promise of future redemption. Their story concludes with a promise from God to resurrect Adam and his descendants, highlighting the theme of eternal hope and divine mercy. This promise assures us that despite the trials and tribulations of life, there is always the hope of redemption and a return to divine grace. The story of Adam and Eve's death is a fervent lesson in the enduring human spirit and the eternal quest for understanding, forgiveness, and connection with the divine. It serves as proof of the resilience of faith and the long-lasting hope for redemption and restoration. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.